Welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about how I don't have to pay my bills.
You know, there was somebody that said that they wanted to come up with a running list of all the puns you make at the beginning of this.
Well, that is going to be a long list, I think.
I don't know. Maybe.
You know, I usually try to get one every episode. Sometimes I don't. But you know, there's going to be a couple of really great Tedisms out there, and you know, that's just free stuff for the community, David. You know, I think we offer that as Card Talk to everyone else.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is what we do. So
yeah.
Anyways,
we got a really great show.
We do have a great show. Grant is busy doing whatever Grant does when he can't make a show. And I guess I will, pony up the information about how to become a supporter of the show.
Absolutely.
You're rubbing off on me. This is where we need Grant to be the go-between.
Kind of bring us in a little bit.
Yeah. But if you are interested in supporting us, feel free to join the Patreon community. We are knowing and growing and getting awesome over there at patreon.com/cardtalk2018. Also, check out the blog. The blog kind of moves in concert with the pod, so you can get your Card Talk any which way you want, and that's at cardtalk2018.com. So, today, if you haven't guessed, we have a great card for you. Ted, do you want to tell the audience what card we have for everybody?
We are talking about the one, the only, Bill the Pony.
Bill the Pony. Yes, Yes, he is the only pony that there is. What about Bill the Pony? Ted, do you want to...
we usually talk a little bit about I guess we'll read the card first, right?
I was going to say, why don't you read the card and then we'll...
Yeah. All right. So we got Bill the Pony. He's a leadership ally that costs 2. He's got 1 willpower, 1 attack, 0 defense, and 2 hit points. He's unique. He's got the traits creature and pony. He's also got the text, lower the cost to play Bill the Pony by 2 if you control Sam Gamgee. Cannot have attachments. Each Hobbit character gets +1 hit point.
That is awesome. So Ted, one of the things that we've been doing now is we've been talking at the beginning of the episode about whether this card represents the character from the lore. And so would you guess that this card represents Bill the Pony well or not well, or...
Well, Bill the Pony, I mean, he's Sam's horse, faithful pony to Frodo and Sam, and he interacts with hobbits, which is about what you would expect him to do. And he has that specific interaction with Sam Gamgee, so I'd say he very represents Bill the Pony.
Yeah, and I think that, the fact that every Hobbit character gets the bonus, I think that's, maybe it's a little overstated from what his role is in the lore, but I think that there's a little part of that where Bill is helps the sturdiness of the hobbits, helps them be a little bit braver, helps them be a little more, when it's time to, it increases their happiness, I guess, and so if happiness turns into hit points, then that's fine. I'm not sure about the attachments thing, but I get it. Ponies are, pack animals. And so, you don't want Bill to have a sword or a shield or, that may be a more functional
a lot of the attachments in the game are those types of things. And you don't want those types of things to go on animals.
Right.
So I
Unless it's
get it.
eagles, maybe, but
Yeah,
but there are very few of these creatures that are not mounts, right? Like most times when you think of a pack animal like a horse, it's going to be a mount. Like even the Hobbit pony is a mount. So, so
right.
it's an attachment as opposed to a character. So that's kind of an interesting delineation there. The wild stallion is the only other creature that comes to mind, other than the eagles, which are their own, which I'm
Yeah,
not that's their own thing. So I'm not
there's
upset that but
there's a handful of other creatures in the game if you're a
yeah,
Radagast player besides eagles.
right.
Um,
Loyal
there's not
hound,
many. There's like Loyal Hound, Rittermark's Finest, the stallion you mentioned. There's not a ton. It's very limited,
right.
and then you have the whole batch of eagles too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I think that the cannot have attachments is great for the type of card it is. It's not necessarily build a pony, but
Yeah.
So, how about functionally? How's this card? Do you like this card? How's this card work?
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much, if you're playing Sam, Hero Sam, who's also within leadership, I mean, this card's free, right? So
Right.
that's kind of like a no-brainer to include at least one of. And then you have all kinds of tricks and things you can do with him. If you want me to get into that, um, there's so you play him for 0, assuming you have Sam Gamgee. He's a great target to use for a very good tail, where you have to exhaust 2 allies, and then you add up their cost, and then you get allies out of your deck that you discard equal to their cost, and you played him for free. I also use Build a Pony in a Fellowship contract deck, since that contract is built around having 9 uniques. He's a unique character. There's only one.
Right.
But his functional bonus to buffing hit points to hobbits, which are low hit points in nature generally, is pretty helpful. I mean, I've had hobbits hang on by that 1 hit point thread, where Sam's at 3 or Pippin's at 2, and I'm sure you've had the same, I would imagine.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Build a Pony becomes a linchpin in a lot of Hobbit decks. Just to clarify, Ted, not to clarify Ted, but to clarify a little more about what Ted said. There's also an ally Sam Gamgee in the Spirit Sphere that you can also use. So if you're playing a deck with Hobbit flavor and you get the ally out, and then you can play this Build a Pony for free because it doesn't specify in the card.
A really great example. I was just to expand on that a little bit further. Sorry to jump in. You could have Leadership Frodo Baggins reduces the cost of Spirit Sam Gamgee down to 1, and then you have Sam Gamgee in play and Leadership Access, so you could then play Build a Pony for 0.
Right. And so, so functionally that becomes less consistent, because it's hard to get, a 2-card combo out because you have to, you'd have
Draw
to
Sam
drop
first.
Sam and then be able to play Bill. But, I don't know, if you're going to Messenger of the King ally Sam Gamgee, which I don't know why you would, because they are very similar. So the hero Sam Gamgee is just better to you, So, I mean, there may be reasons why you want. Maybe you just want a spirit thing. You just need to make sure that if you do have Sam and you're using the spirit version of Sam, that you do have a leadership hero out. You need the resource match. It just reduces the cost. You still need the resource match. So, I mean, one of the things that, I guess, to back up a little, the community probably knows that I have been releasing every week the theatrical campaign. It was a labor of love, I'll tell you that much. I'm still working on a little bit at the end here, a couple of things, but there's a lot of work that went into this. But Grant, actually, who's not with us tonight, he talked me into releasing going over all the rest of the cards that have yet to be reviewed by us that's in that deck. So that way we can, go over all the cards in the deck. So, I mean, Build a Pony turns out to be key in a lot of those decks and a lot of those plays because he's got that he gives those hobbits one extra hit point. So like you said, Ted, those hobbits, they're stuck, at 2 hit points. Most of them, some of them have 3. His master Sam Gamgee has 3 hit points, and that's tough. If you're in a quest taking a lot of archery, or if you're, even if you're going through the beginning, the you have Necromancer's Reach, and all those crazy things. That extra hit point that he gives to every Hobbit character is phenomenal. Now the problem with Bill the Pony, if you can call it that, is that you become reliant on Bill the Pony's extra hit point, right? And so then you have, Spirit Merry or Falco or Bilbo or, Frodo, Fellowship Frodo, or any of the hobbits in there, they sit at their 2 hit point. You have 2 damage on them. And then all of a sudden, Bill the Pony leaves play. And then just like dominoes, tick, 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 all the hobbits just go down with him because Bill the Pony left play. And you've been not careful to heal them up, or you can't heal them up, or something, something has prevented you. So
yeah, it is a bit of a dangerous game, but it can keep your characters alive long enough for you to, to heal the next turn.
Oh yeah.
So, but I agree. It's like one bad treachery or shadow or something.
Right. Discard an ally you control, and it's like, oh.
Yeah. Something else I'll point out about him. He says +1 hit point to. Actually, let me reread it just to make sure.
Each Hobbit character gets +1 hit point.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So it's each Hobbit character. So it's not only your heroes, it includes all your Hobbit allies as well, which, there's quite a few. If you're running that archetype, you could have, all kinds, right? You could have Hobbit archers, and you could have the Bywater sheriffs, and there's just the
guy that I think this
big list
can impact the most is Gaffer, because Gaffer is vital to a lot of Hobbit decks. Gaffer keeps him back, but Gaffer's only got 1 hit point. So if Gaffer takes a damage from anything, he's destroyed, and Bill can help you with him. So
yeah.
And then like that means you don't have to put like Squire's Helm or something on Gaffer to keep him around, right? Because Gaffer wants to jump in and out of play all the time. Bill the Pony, if he just stays in play, just automatically gives, it allows a little less finagling on a deck construction side. So
yeah, and he's also, it just says hobbits, right, in play, not your hobbits or hobbits you control.
Each Hobbit character, right?
So that will affect. He's a global bonus. Yep. So it's not just your hobbits. If I happen to have, because that happens sometimes. David, you're playing a Hobbit deck, and I might have Hobbit allies in my non-Hobbit deck, like an Archer or a Wandering Took or something, and they kind of get to milk. They get to kind of siphon off that bonus. They get to drink the sweet milk of Bill the Pony. And it makes them hardy. Is that where the hit point comes from?
That probably, yes. I'm sure
right?
of
It's
it.
kind of like an end draft type of thing. They think that...
yeah. I'm just going to leave that there. Yeah, and so because Bill can't have attachments, it's not like there's a ton of combos that you're doing with this guy. Like, you're not bringing him in and then putting Squire's Helm on him to help him out, because you can't do it, right? And so another thing is you can't Messenger the King Bill the Pony, because Messenger the King becomes an attachment, and so you can't use him as a Messenger of the King ally.
Which is sad.
You can't Sword Thane Bill the Pony. So that cannot, according to the FAQ, is an absolute. It cannot. Nothing can break that.
That's just a crime, because he's a hero.
He is a hero.
He deserves to be a hero.
I don't need another hero. How was that? Was that good?
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. We'll add that one to the Card Talk soundtrack.
The Card Talk playlist. Yeah. So, and so yeah, we're talking about like his interactions with the hobbits and stuff like this, but like that, the 1 willpower and the 1 attack, there's several times in my campaign when I had Build a Pony out, I'm like, I need like one more attack to kill, this orc or this Dunland, like whatever. And then you're like, oh, Build a Pony's there, right? Because you don't need to have Bill's boost is global and he doesn't need to exhaust to use it. So, that extra one willpower, that extra one attack is not anything to necessarily sneeze at. So, sometimes you just need that little bit to get you over the hump, and it's there.
Yeah. Yep. You just gotta, hop in that Build a Pony saddle.
That's true.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this up, because I feel like this is a pretty straightforward card. There's not a lot to expound on, but
yeah, like I said, the best combo-y tricksy thing you can do is if you use them with a very good tail, since you get to play him for free with Sam. And we'll just kind of mention it's pretty obvious, but like outside of Hobbit decks, I've never put him in like his.
Well, that's what I was. That's what I was going to ask you. Like,
I've never paid for him. I've only put him in decks with Sam.
Right.
Yes, you could do a deck with just like leadership Frodo and hobbits, or hobbits and some other leadership hero, and then play it for the bonus. But Sam's a great hero anyway.
Yeah. That's the thing. I feel like if you need leadership access to play Build a Pony, the easy choice is Sam Gamgee, right? Like you said, you could play Leadership Frodo, but Leadership Frodo isn't necessarily a Hobbit card. I mean, he's a Hobbit, of course, but like that card isn't necessarily geared to be a Hobbit sort of card. Like it triggers off of, it keeps your threat low and things like that. Like it can, but like he's not.
He helps keep your
Hobbit-y.
threat low, and that's sure. I get where you're going.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I would agree with you, Ted. I'm not saying that Build a Pony doesn't make it into other decks. Maybe a Fellowship deck if you need cheap.
It's true. He's a cheap, unique ally for any Fellowship deck that's not running Sam. There's actually, I'd say that's probably the best case.
Yeah, but
and then if you're running there's other unique hobbits that are cheap too that you might be including in that Fellowship deck.
Yeah, but I think that you're just not putting Build a Pony in a deck if it doesn't have Sam Gamgee in for the most part.
Yeah,
I think even if you're playing Ally Sam, then there's probably a reason you're not playing Leadership Sam, and then there's probably a reason why you're not going to put Build a Pony in the deck. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's because you're doing something else.
Yeah.
Like if you want Build a Pony, you should be playing Leadership Sam anyways.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, and I mean, I really can't think of anything else that because he can't have attachment that really neuters his interest, right? Like he's the card that you put on the table, is functionally great in a Hobbit deck. You love having him, and then and that's pretty much it to talk about, right?
The one other interaction he has with the hero in the game is he is a creature card. So I mentioned hero Radagast earlier. So if you happen to play him, Radagast gets his quest without exhausting bonus that turn, and his staff can ready build the pony, but his stat, I've never done that. The stats aren't there. But if you were running Sam and Radagast together, he's like that turn, he's like a double whammy there because you get to play him for 0 and then Radagast quest for free.
Yeah. I mean, but in that case, him being unique kind of works against that deck archetype because you can only do it that one time, right?
Unless he dies, or you sacrifice him or whatever.
I'm not saying you don't do that. I'm just saying like that's kind of a super niche-y sort of case. Having Radagast and Sam Gamgee hero, that's not a deck probably that's been explored much.
And sometimes I've chump Build a Pony before when his hit point bonus was not going to kill another character because they were all healed. You can chump with Build a Pony because then if you have another one in your hand, you can drop it for free if you're playing Sam. So that's happened to me before, which is kind of nice. So I tend to run 2 copies
Right.
is a 2. The argument could be made for 3. I don't know how many you usually include. Is it
Yeah,
1, 2, or 3?
I'm usually a two. Like
2.
usually if it's unique, I'm usually a two. Two unique, unless it's something that I know that I'm going to absolutely need.
Right.
Now, if you're playing Bond of Friendship, Bond of Friendship restricts you to having only two, right? So you can't play 3 copies. So,
Right.
it's so I'm just used to kind of playing two. If it's a unique character, I probably put two, unless it's super vital to my
Yep.
to the deck, and then I'm like,
I agree. He's a good 2 of.
yeah, and all of that doesn't diminish his strength. In a Hobbit deck, I think he's like, you love to have Build a Pony on the board. So, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. So, let's talk about his artwork, Ted.
Yeah, I was going to talk about his lore a little bit too.
Oh, okay.
Just because I was like, what is it with Build a Pony? How did he get his name? And I had to look it up to get refreshed. Do you remember?
Okay, so I will guess. I know that they got Bill the Pony from Bree.
Yes.
I think he was Bill Fernie's pony that they took from him. Like, but he unwillingly gave them the pony. There was some sort of dealing, and Bill Fernie unwillingly gave up Bill the Pony. He was like starving him in the back of the green drag or the prancing pony, and I don't know. There was something weird going on there.
Yeah, he was. So you're right. He was owned by Bill Fernie. He was mistreated, but Bill sold the pony to Frodo, according to this page, for 12 silver pennies, which is more than 3 times his worth. So Bill gouged Frodo for his, mistreated, not in shape pony, who then was nursed back to health by Sam.
Right. Sam took him and did a lot of good stuff with him.
I will mention this because it's like one of my favorite parts of the book. Do you know? We're going to kind of shift the conversation a little bit.
Okay.
Do you know the name of Tom Bombadil's pony?
Tom Bombadil's pony.
Mm-hmm.
No, not off the top of my head.
So when the hobbits visit Tom Bombadil early in Fellowship, they meet Bill the pony meets Tom Bombadil's pony, whose name is Fatty Lumpkin.
Oh, Fatty Lumpkin. Right.
And the text describes Fatty Lump. I don't remember the exact words, but he kind of, I remember him kind of coming off to me as sort of like, almost like a lord. I don't want to say lordly, as in, like royal or anything, but he had this sort of presence about him, and all the creatures got along with him, that he was sort of like at this, Tom Bombadil's pony had this sort of supernatural element to him, much like Tom Bombadil does himself. Right. And I remember like Bill the pony like warmed up to Fatty, and they were eating together, and there was a small phrase about that. And that was one of my favorite parts, was reading that text. The only thing I'm upset about is we got a Tom Bombadil card, but man, I want a Fatty Lumpkin card like nothing else. I want a Fatty Lumpkin card, and I want him to do something to bolster creatures, because they find him,
maybe even ponies,
right?
Because I think there's only 2 ponies, right? There's Bill the pony, and I think there's Hobbit pony.
Yeah. Let me look at.
And so I don't think there's any other pony cards. And Hobbit pony is an attachment.
Yeah, so I think if I look at the other horse allies, right? We talked about our wild stallion, who is only a creature,
right? And
then there is Mark's finest, who is also, I believe, only a creature. And I think Rohan traded,
right? And the thing is
Rohan,
you don't want Fatty Lumpkin to boost all the eagles and all that stuff.
Well,
maybe you could,
but,
yeah.
Depending on his, I don't know what effect. There's very little. It's like Tom Bombadil, very little. So, Yeah. So I'm just saying I want a Fatty Lumpkin card.
There you go. Anybody out there who likes making cards, let's work on Ted's dream. Ted wants
Yeah.
a Fatty Lumpkin card. I'm sure somebody somewhere in the past 11 years has made a Fatty Lumpkin card somewhere, but
Maybe.
so
Yeah.
you want one. You want a new one. So
We
what
can
about
look at
the
his
what?
artwork,
Yeah, I
but
was
that
just
that aside,
what about
I've been wanting to talk about Fatty Lumpkin on the show for a long time.
okay.
So, and I
Well, that's
finally
good.
got my
You
opportunity.
scratch that itch.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the art, and I love the art on the horse, like or on the horse on the pony. The pony picture is great. It's loaded up with all the Hobbit stuff. And one of the things, and I think I said this before, is that usually when we talk about the art, I usually like scroll in and I look at the art very carefully. But it looks like behind Bill the Pony is a caretaker, a Hobbit caretaker, because it's shorter and so it looks like maybe Sam is in a Hobbit cloak behind, unless it's a Black Rider. There's
No,
some figure behind Bill the Pony that's like taking care of it, and I just think that adds to the mystique of the card. I really like the art on this guy.
Yeah, they look to just be in some generic wooded area, and it definitely is the height of a hobbit because it's just taller than the pony
Right.
itself, and it very easily could be Sam walking in front of, like
Right.
standing in front of, and you're looking at the back of this hobbit,
Right.
and then Bill the pony's kind of looking behind himself. He's looking
Right.
at something.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's high quality art. I love it. It's good stuff, and it shows Bill in good shape after he's got all his stuff. Bill the Pony was a great ally to the until they got to the mines of Boria, and then they they turned him loose.
Yeah.
So
All right, let's ring this bad boy.
okay, so you guys out there know how this works, right? We have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system that works on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card in the game to rule them all, and 10 is the card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it was made, or a card that's not very good. So, Ted, if you don't mind, I'll go first, because I think most people are going to be surprised on this, right? And so, like, whenever I rate a card, I've actually dreaded the day where we have to rate BTP, Build a Pony, right? Like, because it's like typically I usually use like how much does Build a Pony, or how much does a card inspire me to build a deck? And Build a Pony doesn't really inspire me to build a deck, but Build a Pony is always like there to go into a Hobbit deck because I'm always using Sam Gamgee. So it's like Build a Pony is just kind of the old standby that's always there, which I think is super thematic because that's what Build a Pony was for the Fellowship, right? But all that aside, like Build a Pony only fits into, that Hobbit deck, right? Like I know that there's a million variations on that Hobbit deck, but it just fits into that Hobbit deck, right? And so, so because he's really focused, and you have to play him with Sam Gamgee, I have to give him a 6, but I love him and I want to give him like a 3, but I have to stay true to how I do this, so maybe I'll be nice and give him a 5 just because, he's a creature and he's a pony, and, he just gets slotted into that deck. It's not like Test of Will that gets slotted into every deck. It's not like Sneak Attack that gets slotted into most decks. You know what I mean? Does he inspire me to build a deck when I pull out Build a Pony? Nope. But he just always goes into that deck. So that's where 5 or 6 comes in. Is he great in that deck? Yes. That's why I'm like, oh, he should be like a 2. He's great for that Hobbit deck.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So this is a really hard one for me to rank. So I've given everybody about 7 rankings, but I think my official one has got to be like a 5, like middle of the road, just because, I don't know. So, Ted, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually also giving him a 5, and that's because a lot of the reasons that you said. He's kind of like, yes, you can, as we discussed, you can play him outside of Sam, but you really don't want to. It's sort of like some of the hero specific attachments, like Gandalf's staff, Radagast's staff, the Rings of Power. They really only, it's like if you include Sam, you include this as like a companion card. And then outside of that, you just kind of don't.
Right.
So he's got that limitation, which is what you were saying. But he's super good, though, because he's just a free ally with his global bonus that has 2 hit points. Like, it's stupid good when you're playing with Sam.
Right.
So it's a pretty great card for that.
Agreed. It is pretty great. Well, everybody, there you have it. A card review on Bill the Pony. And don't forget to check out the blog and check out the Patreon. Become a patron over at Card Talk, patreon.com/cardtalk2018. And with that, everybody, we will see you next week. Have a great day, everybody. Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube, and there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.